Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Monday, May 11th, 2026. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today are Bishop Robert Griffin, my husband, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Now to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world.
In 2026, we are celebrating the 41st anniversary of Hotspots magazine, with Queer News Tonight sharing over 14,000 stories and 12 million views so far.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Welcome the Stranger has limits in Florida higher education. Filed by Republican State Senator Erin Grall in January 2026, Florida's State Bill 1052 proposes to prohibit public colleges and universities from admitting students who are not U.S. citizens or unlawfully present in the country. If enacted, this legislation would effectively bar undocumented immigrants from accessing public higher education within the state.
The bill further extends restrictions by preventing undocumented migrants from participating in state-funded adult general education programs, such as English as a Second Language, ESL, courses, and GED preparation. This measure builds upon previous state efforts, including a February 2025 law that eliminated in-state tuition eligibility for undocumented students. These actions align with a broader crackdown on undocumented immigration in Florida, occurring in the context of federal policy changes under the Trump administration, such as increased deportation quotas and the expansion of local partnerships with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE.
Beyond immigration-related restrictions, SB 1050 also proposes significant changes to intercollegiate athletics. It would remove the existing state requirement for public institutions to maintain gender equity plans in sports, which had previously served as local extension of Title IX protections, though universities would still be required to adhere to federal non-discrimination standards. I don't know how that works. As of the report's publication, the bill lacked a companion measure in the House, and the 2026 legislative session was slated to begin on January 13th.
You know, as I read this and followed, of course, the state of Florida's stuff, this just really reminds me about, as a kid growing up, we had Title I program, we had access to different things in education and all this kind of stuff. But for a state to aggressively want to not allow children access to education or access to universities or access to higher education, it just baffles me. Yeah. It's like, if your intent is to go after people who you feel are undocumented or unworthy to be here, education should not be the place where it begins. Education, what you're trying to tell me is that you don't want people to learn how to deal with you.
Yeah.
You don't want people to learn how to legislate like you and undo what you're doing. And to specifically target this group of people is, once again, I believe, a form of alienation and intimidation. It's just simply bullying. And so I think that hopefully this will be rethought at some point. And I would just question, did they ask anyone that's actually affected or who's actually teaching these programs, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about teaching someone who may be an immigrant or who may not be here, who may be here legally? How do you feel about teaching them? Is it a waste of time to you? I'm sure the answer is no, because teachers are about educating. They're about helping people achieve something that they probably would not otherwise achieve. Education is important. As a kid growing up, my dad always said, that is the one thing that you will always get and always have, because it is a one thing that nobody can ever take away from you.
Yep, and your dad was absolutely right. And if people are working very hard to try and get education, to improve themselves, whether they're documented, it doesn't matter. Everyone will benefit if these people can get the education that they want, that they need, they desire. Right. I truly, it's just targeting, it's bullying.
There's a real strange dichotomy there. Every time someone comes to America, the first thing that Americans will say to them is, "You're in America now. Speak English."
Mm-hmm.
So what do? We'll take away English as a second language. That is the most brilliant thing that I ever heard. We want people to be as dumb as possible. When I say we, I'm talking about our current political structure. They don't want people to learn because, just like Bishop's father said, if you know something, they can never take it away from you. And once you know something, you can never go back to where you were before. So
That's what book bans
people
are all
are just
about.
people are just afraid, and they're afraid because the so-called majority sees itself becoming a minority majority very soon, and that scares the living crap out of them. And that's what I think a lot of this legislation is all about.
Yeah.
Education, medicine, clean water, clean air, food, due process, a path to being able to live in a place legally, and maybe even to obtain citizenship. These are rights. These are rights. You have a right to wherever you live to be safe, to have food, to have water, to have medicine, to have education. And when I'm talking about rights, I'm talking about equity. All this war against equity. Equity just means fair. Equity means just. Equity means right. And so to be against things that assure equity or that try to assure equity is to be against justice. And the biblical word, the spiritual word, the religious word for justice is righteousness. So for all of these people who call themselves religious people who say, but I don't want those people here, and I don't think we should pay for them to have food or for them to have education or for them to have medicine, but you are spitting in the face of righteousness. Now, you don't have to be righteous, and you don't have to think righteousness is a good thing. But if you say you follow Jesus, then righteousness isn't, oh, I don't swear, I don't look at porn, I always say grace before meals. Well, good for you, and isn't that lovely? But all of that, and you're mean to people, all of that, and you don't care if people survive, all of that, and you try to make people's life harder because they're different, that's not righteous.
Yeah.
Being cruel, but you say grace at breakfast, just means you are an asshole who says grace at breakfast.
Amen.
And that's today with the Queer God Squad. Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about. Please like and share this and other episodes of the Queer God Squad.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together.
Also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad.